20 and 80 is 100. This time, though, the Italian philosopher, engineer and economist Vilfredo Pareto has little to do with it. Have you ever witnessed the headquarters manager, if not an entire delegation, visiting the foreign subsidiary of a large multinational company? What was your role in the game? Depending on your answer, you might have a very different story to tell. I'll tell you mine. It took place many years ago. Its main character is Simon. Simon is the new global head of operations at a large multinational European company. He's paying his first visit to the Latin American subsidiaries of the group. His itinerary touches 3 countries in 10 days. And the first country is Brazil. Before he left, the CEO of the group has warned him about a couple of issues he will have to solve. Luis Carlos is the Brazilian country manager. His close collaborators in the São Paulo offices have been frantically working during the weekend to get everything ready. Presentations finalized, reports updated, meeting rooms booked, desks cleaned, floors polished, and restaurant reservations made. It's 6:30 in the morning. Simon's plane has just landed after an 11-hour flight. Nivaldo, the driver, is waiting for him just outside the Federal Customs Control at the Guarulhos International Airport. When they finally get into the car, Nivaldo struggles mixing English and Portuguese words to tell Simon that he will first bring him to the hotel, allow him some time to get prepared, and then take him to the office. But Simon disagrees. He wants to go straight to the office and take advantage of every single minute of his trip in Brazil. Simon believes that by going straight and early to the office, he will signal his commitment. He wants to give his Paulistanos colleagues a good example of European efficiency, and he takes no shower. Simon doesn't know that his behavior will soon turn into a coffee machine joke about the lack of hygiene of old world travelers. During his 2.5 days in São Paulo, Simon attends hours of meetings with all the key people that he had planned to see. He notes that besides younger on average, his Brazilian colleagues are much more friendly and attentive than he's used to in his own country. On the other hand, Luis Carlos, the country manager, finds it particularly hard to cope with Simon's inquisitive approach. Despite his effort to appear collaborative, he finds it particularly surprising that Simon has openly challenged his position in front of his team. From the second day on, answers coming from the Brazilian team are getting more and more evasive. Simon will never forget the night skyline of the central Avenida Paulista seen from the rooftop bar of a stunning design hotel. He will never forget his best Japanese dinner. He will never forget the warm reception he has got. In the end, Nivaldo, the driver, takes Simon back to the airport. He is leaving Brazil with contrasting feelings. Has he missed any important piece of the puzzle? Anyway, there's no time to think about it now. Argentina and Chile are also waiting. Based on Simon's understanding, decisions will be made in the headquarters that will end up destroying value. A bit of mutual distrust has arisen, some opportunities will be lost, and a few people will have to find another job. Simon's next trips to São Paulo won't be as smooth as the first one. Simon is an intelligent person. He will learn from experience in the end. Okay, nobody will ever tell him about the coffee machine joke. This time, though, the truth about his international business performance is as follows. He has grasped 20% of what's really going on. He thinks he understood 80%. He will go back and tell his boss that he understood 100%. In planning his visit, Simon has underestimated 2 aspects: the need to build long-term trust and the need to provide Luis Carlos with the right level of empowerment with his team. The hints about the known issues coming from the group CEO were justified in themselves but gained disproportionate priority given the reference context. In the occasion, Simon lacked the necessary leadership to evaluate the real priorities and to help his boss in putting his priorities into context. With very few exceptions, the center-periphery interaction is a repeated game, and it needs to be played as such, especially when the geographic distance is relevant and frequent visits are not an option. Building a long-term relationship based on mutual trust is essential, and this implies making the country feel the support of the center. Success in international business relationships passes through having the right person in the right place and with the right power. By openly challenging Luis Carlos in front of his people, Simon has unwillingly put his authority at risk. A simple action that would probably work fine in Germany, the Netherlands, or France was totally inappropriate given the context. Cultural traits of most Brazilians include being quite uncomfortable with direct negative feedback and with confrontational disagreement. Another common trait is relationship-based trust as opposed to fact-based. For those who are intrigued by the topic, I highly recommend Erin Meyer's book, The Culture Map. Erin's valuable work introduces a comparative, pragmatic approach to cross-cultural management. In a perverse blend of actual misunderstanding and perceived understanding, chances are that Luis Carlos will start to base his local leadership on the contrast with the headquarters. He will position himself with his team as the one who is defending the interest of the periphery against the arrogance and the superficiality of the headquarters. He will do so while maintaining a guise of cordiality and an apparently collaborative attitude. The Brazilians have a saying, para inglês ver, dubbed for the Englishman to see, meaning to keep up appearances. The expression is said to date back to the beginning of the 19th century, when the Portuguese imperial court temporarily fled from Lisbon to Rio de Janeiro under the pressure of Napoleon's army. They did so with the military help of the British Royal Navy and with the financial support of Great Britain. Many things could have worked differently. For each character of the story, there is a small set of actions that, if put in place, would dramatically improve the outcome. Suppose you are the visiting manager. Choose the goals of your visit carefully and make sure that they are compatible with a scheduled time. Second, listen, listen, listen. Do not overestimate your capacity to grasp reality and do not take your home country cultural standards for granted. Third, think in terms of the value you're giving, not just on what you're taking away. And fourth, help your boss in putting real priorities into context. If you are playing the host, be patient with your guest and don't jump to hasty conclusions. Prepare your team beforehand by providing them with clues about how foreigners' behavior might lead to misunderstandings. To the best of your capacity, try to impersonate your foreign counterpart's point of view and try to anticipate which answers might lead to misinterpretation. Finally, if you are the big boss, you probably haven't realized it, but you are holding the greatest responsibility for the final result. By putting the accent on speed and execution, you will end up encouraging a tactical approach. Not that speed and execution are not valuable. However, first, encourage thorough understanding, trust building, and a long-term vision. Second, ensure that the right people with the right level of cultural awareness are building the company's international relationships. When appropriate, support your key people with targeted cultural coaching and consider it as an option for yourself too. International business relationships are as complex to manage as they are compelling and potentially rewarding. Cross-cultural awareness is always a key success factor and a high-return investment. Now, if you like the story, subscribe to my YouTube channel to find more. If you think that the story deserves it, click on the like button. If you have a similar story to tell, please leave your comments. Finally, you can also visit my website.